Okay, you listen up because you've given us quite the challenge today. It's a deep dive, yeah, but into a company that's, well, a bit of a puzzle. Palantir.
Palantir, yeah, they are a bit mysterious, that's for sure.
Now we've got a whole stack of stuff here, articles, even a YouTube video transcript someone sent in, all about Palantir. So today's mission, if we choose to accept it, is to figure out, based on all this, what exactly they do.
Right, and why everyone seems to be talking about them all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Why all the buzz? Now, I gotta say, even their own description is kind of confusing.
Oh yeah, what do they say about themselves?
AI-powered automation for every decision, delivering mission-critical outcomes for the West's most powerful institutes.
Hmm.
I mean, one of these articles called it out. It's like some marketing team went overboard with the jargon. Sounds impressive, but what does it even mean?
Yeah, you can't really picture what they do day to day, can you?
Not at all. But then you look at their stock price, up like 340% this year alone. That puts them up there with, the big guys, AT&T, IBM. So clearly something's working for them.
Oh, absolutely. And that gap between what they do and that success, well, that's part of what makes them so interesting to look at. In fact, one of your experts said, trying to answer, what does Palantir do?
Yeah.
That gets to the heart of the whole thing, the mystique, the confusion, everything.
Okay, so how about we try to clear up some of that confusion then? Where did this company even come from?
Well, rewind back to 2003. The world's a very different place, right? War on terror is in full swing.
Right.
And that's where Palantir starts. Their goal, initially, very focused,
Okay.
build a data analytics platform.
Data analytics, so not like troops on the ground or building weapons.
No, this was about making sense of information.
Yeah.
The Department of Defense, they had tons of data coming in from everywhere, but connecting the dots, that was the challenge. Palantir wanted to help them find those connections.
So like in those early days, was it mostly about preventing, terrorist attacks?
Yeah, that was a huge focus, especially with the IED threat in Iraq and Afghanistan. Palantir, they were trying to give intelligence agencies a way to identify those responsible, predict where attacks might happen, that sort of thing.
Okay, so using data to like understand the bigger picture, the patterns.
Exactly. Their early expertise, that's what it was all about, making sense of overwhelming amounts of information.
But they didn't just stick to that one thing, did they? One of the articles talks about them becoming more of a general problem solver for the Department of Defense.
Right, and that's important. They moved beyond just counterterrorism. It became more like, hey, you got a complex problem. We can help you find solutions within your data.
Yeah.
That shift, it really helped them grow.
And the thing is, right from the start, they were pretty open about working with the military, with defense. That's kind of different from how we usually see tech companies, isn't it?
It was, yeah. Back then, Silicon Valley was all about connecting the world, consumer products, that image. Palantir was upfront about wanting to help the military achieve their goals.
Which one article actually called unprecedented for a tech company at the time?
Definitely shook things up a bit.
And of course, they were walking into a world with, like, the giants already there. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all those big names in defense.
The big defense primes, yeah.
But one of the arguments is that Palantir, they're kind of shaking up that system, being a disruptor. And maybe that's a good thing, considering how those huge defense contracts, they often go way over budget.
Yeah, that's a common criticism, right? These massive multi-year projects with the same players. Palantir comes in with a different approach, specialized, focused on data. So the thinking is more competition, more innovation. Maybe things get done more efficiently.
Okay, so we know their early work, but since then, wow, the range of government contracts they've gotten is pretty impressive.
It is, yeah.
There's the Army's Vantage platform for analyzing all kinds of military data. Then there's this thing, it's almost too good to be true. It's like a James Bond-style AI satellite computer suitcase.
That does sound pretty James Bond, doesn't it?
Right. And then you've got the AI-powered drone systems, Project Maven, Titan. Titan is actually the Army's very first AI-defined vehicle,
Yeah.
that's pretty significant.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently, it can, like, seriously cut down the time it takes to identify a target and take action, like sensor-to-shooter timelines, they call it.
So basically making decisions much faster
Yeah.
based on the data it's getting.
Yep. Well, one source even put it as beep, boop, beep, which I thought was kind of funny, but also, like, this is serious stuff.
Yeah, AI taking a more active role in warfare, that's a whole other conversation. But you're right, it's not just theoretical anymore.
And it's not all just military either. They've done work with managing COVID data, helping with vaccine distribution.
Right, showing they can handle large-scale health crises, too.
But then there's also the stuff that's, well, a bit more controversial, like their work with ICE's Immigration and Customs Enforcement on surveillance systems.
Yeah.
And then there was that project with the New Orleans Police Department testing out predictive policing tech, all very hush-hush.
That kind of technology, it raises a lot of questions about privacy, bias, all that.
Absolutely. And on top of all that, their tech is reportedly being used by both the Ukrainian and Israeli militaries in what one article called war-related missions.
So yeah, they're involved in some pretty sensitive areas, that's for sure. And the way those tools get used, well, that's something people are definitely paying attention to.
Okay, but let's switch gears a bit and talk about their commercial side, because it turns out they're not just focused on government work anymore.
Right, they've branched out quite a bit.
Yeah, their U.S. commercial revenue, it jumped by a huge amount last year, something like 54%. And a lot of that is because of their move into AI products for businesses.
Which makes sense, right. They build their reputation on handling complex data for the government. Now they're taking that expertise and applying it to all sorts of industries.
And it's not just any businesses either. You've got banks and regulators using their tech for anti-money laundering, customer data stuff.
Wow.
And there's BP using it for their whole digital transformation push.
So big companies, big challenges, lots of data to deal with.
Exactly. And the list goes on. United Airlines, Lowe's, General Mills, even Tampa General Hospital. And this one made me laugh. Big pickleball neighbors.
Big pickleball neighbors.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, but apparently they're using Palantir too.
Well, that just shows you, right? Data is everywhere, every industry, every size.
Yeah.
And if you can analyze it effectively, well, that's a powerful tool.
So behind all this, we've got to talk about the guys who built this company, Peter Thiel and Alex Karp. And the articles, they don't hold back on the descriptions.
Oh, how do they describe them?
Thiel is the sassy little mystery minx, and Karp, apparently he looks like if Tiger Woods got electrocuted.
Wow, okay, those are some vivid descriptions. Not exactly your typical tech CEOs.
Not at all. And they come from pretty different backgrounds, too. Thiel is more on the, libertarian conservative side of things, whereas Karp is described as more, well, left-leaning. But despite that, they both seem to agree on this one big idea, that the tech world and the defense world, they need to work together.
And that really is at the core of what Palantir is about, isn't it? That partnership between Silicon Valley innovation and, well, the needs of the defense establishment.
And Karp especially, he's been pretty vocal about this. He said that the tech industry, with all its focus on consumer products, it kind of lost its way, that it needs to get back to working with the government to defend the West, as he puts it.
Which is interesting, right? Because for a while, a lot of tech companies, they kind of kept their distance from the government. Now it seems like that's changing.
Yeah, it's like everyone's realizing that working with Washington, it's not such a bad thing after all. And it's not just Palantir. You've got guys like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, they've got big government contracts too.
So the landscape is definitely shifting.
But the big question is, can Palantir really revolutionize the whole defense industry? Like, can they take on those giant prime contractors we talked about?
Well, one article pointed out that they haven't actually built any major weapons systems yet. You know, like the fighter jets and missiles that companies like Lockheed are known for.
Right. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, building complex hardware, that takes a different kind of expertise. Palantir's strength is in the software, the data analysis. So their impact, it's more about how data gets used, how it changes how those organizations operate.
But they're definitely doing things differently. Like they're engaging with all the, the meme stock traders, the day traders online.
Trying to get more everyday people interested in what they're doing.
Yeah, and you don't see Lockheed Martin doing that. They're trying to build a different kind of image, reach a wider audience.
It's like they want to be seen as more than just another government contractor. It's about national security, the future of technology, all that.
So to wrap things up for you listening, it's clear that Palantir, they're more than just a tech company. They're a fascinating look at how Silicon Valley is changing, how it's getting involved in some pretty big and complicated issues.
Absolutely. We started with data analytics for counterterrorism, and now look where they are. Government contracts, commercial work, all sorts of controversies along the way. And they're not slowing down.
And all this talk about data, it reminds me of another company, Stonefly.
Oh, how so?
Well, just like Stonefly has been a leader in data storage, backup, and all these advanced technologies for over 2 decades, Palantir is showing us a new way to use that data, to analyze it, apply it to all kinds of problems in government and business, everywhere.
And that's a key point, isn't it? You need that solid foundation, that reliable way to manage all that data before you can even start doing the fancy analysis that Palantir is known for.
Exactly. And Stonefly, they've got that expertise. They've been doing it for over 20 years. SAN, NAS, S3 object storage, you name it, backup and disaster recovery, cloud solutions. They're even doing advanced AI and security stuff now. They've been serving customers for decades. They know what it takes to build a reliable data infrastructure.
That's the kind of foundation that companies like Palantir rely on. Without that, the data is useless. And Stonefly, they're the pioneers in that space.
Exactly. So if you're interested in learning more about what they do, you can check out their website, stonefly.com, or you can reach out to their team directly at sales@stonefly.com. Remember, Stonefly, they're the ones who've been leading the way in data solutions for over 2 decades.
Definitely worth checking out, especially with how important data is becoming in every aspect of our lives.
All right, so here's a final thought for you to ponder. With Palantir doing what they're doing, with technology and national security getting more and more intertwined, what does it mean for the future? How do we make sure this technology gets developed and used responsibly? What are the ethical considerations?
It's a big question, no easy answers. But it's something we all need to be thinking about. And as we do, it's good to remember that it all starts with that basic layer, that reliable data infrastructure. Companies like Stonefly, they're the ones building that foundation. And without it, none of this is possible.
So there you have it, a deep dive into Palantir, a company pushing the boundaries of technology, working in the shadows, raising all sorts of questions. It's a complex story, but hopefully this has shed some light on it for you.
And if you're interested in the foundational side of things, that data infrastructure that makes it all possible, well, you know where to look. Stonefly, they've got you covered.
Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep those data questions coming.
Absolutely. We'll be here to try and make sense of it all.